Welcome to the Gamification Quest podcast series, where we showcase the voices behind our new collection on gamification and game-based learning, the Sententia Anthology. I'm your host, Monica Cornetti, and in each episode, I sit down with one of our authors to explore the ideas and stories they've brought to life in their chapter. Together, these conversations reveal how creative, passionate professionals are transforming the way adults learn. Let's dive in. Hi, my name is Monica Cornetti, and welcome to this special episode of the Gamification Quest podcast. My very special guest today is Rihan Mustapha, and our topic is based on her chapter of our Sententia Anthology, and her chapter title is GameFrame, Rethinking Leadership with Coaching and Play. So Rihan has a lot of background in this area. She's an ICF Master Certified Coach. She's a Gamification Master Craftsman, a leadership development specialist. She has over 2 decades of experience in all of the coaching arena. And she's also a Lego Serious Play facilitator and an EQ practitioner. So you can see that she's got a lot of experience here. So as I read her chapter, I was both personally inspired, but then I also thought about the practicality of it for those who are interested in coaching. They have a profession in coaching, and they're thinking about how they might use gamification in that field. So Rihan, very inspirational, your chapter. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am thrilled to have you here with us.
Thank you, Monica.
That's good. Thank you.
Same here, yeah.
Yeah. We're thrilled to have you in our inner circle. And I wrote a little blurb that went with your chapter that said how inspiring you've been to us. So let me think about now as you look at this particular theme for your chapter, what inspired you to add this to the anthology? It deals with leadership, coaching, play. What was your inspiration?
My inspiration was thinking about a moment in the past. When I was younger, let's say almost 20 years ago, I took on a leadership role, and I was very young at that time. I was determined. I worked day and night till I burned out. So I paused and took a step back. That pause was a turning point to me. I decided to quit my job and to dive more into leadership development. And I started my journey for looking into anything that has to do with developing leaders. And there I met incredible and like-minded leaders across different sectors. They had the same thing. They wanted to be better in leadership. And what I noticed that, okay, we enrolled in that certification and that training, but it's always the same thing. Too much information and too little transformation. So I asked myself, how do we apply what we learn in a practical way? And this is a lifestyle. So every time I take training, I try to apply what I learn, even on a very small scale. So I paused and I was thinking, what shall I write about? So I thought about applying what I learned combined into that little chapter. And I think this is the idea behind the game frame, the bridge between knowing and doing.
Very good. Now, were you thinking about other coaches? Like, as we think about why this topic is important right now in our field, like we really work with a lot of instructional designers, e-learning developers. But we also have some coaches like yourself who specialize in that leadership and emotional intelligence. So why do you think this is particularly important to the field right now?
I think because leadership is complex today. It's not a simple thing. When we say leadership, it has layers, lots of things. So what I feel from experience and from talking to other leaders, leaders need safe spaces where they can experiment, they can reflect, they can grow with courage without like feeling that fear of like failure. People are looking up to me and blah, blah, blah. They have every right to feel the growth safely. So I think GameFrame helps create that safe space. It turns learning about leadership into living that leadership experience through play, coaching, reflection, and emotional intelligence.
That's really good as we think about that, bridging that gap, because leadership, I mean, there's a lot of potential to fail every day in leadership, and we make mistakes. We don't always get it right. And too many people are promoted into leadership because they are good at something else. So we now think, well, they'll be good at leading people to do this too, without any real support or coaching or training. So a lot of programs do focus just on like the theory, like here's the things you need to know, but they're not really taking it into the practical of the doing. So how does GameFrame address that gap, moving from, okay, I have this knowledge, but now I need to actually practice it or do it? How does GameFrame bridge that gap?
GameFrame employs coaching and it combines that with emotional intelligence. So it is about moving from theories into practice through believing in the person himself or herself. Like they have all the abilities they need to have that transformation that they wish to have. So, what they have to do is simply pause and reflect about the situation, see what they have in hand, what they can do about it, then start doing it. It's not about like, I learned that and that about the situation and I'm going to apply it, because leadership is not that easy. You can say, I can do this for that. But if you change with one little change, the whole situation is changed. So you need another solution. That's why when we have the coaching element in GameFrame, it helps people, empowers them to think and to find their own solutions.
It's really good. So what I hear you saying then is like, so we have coaching and you're bringing it into practicality, application through play and gamification. So how does that coaching and gamification, how do they complement each other as you think about that design of GameFrame?
So when I thought of gamification, I thought of the motivation. So sometimes people lack that motivation. But when you combine coaching with motivation, with the gamification, you've got that covered. So people may only think, I want to try that. Okay, let's have fun. Then when they try it, they feel, wow, how powerful that is. So gamification is the motivation and coaching is the empowerment. People need to take that step forward.
That's really good. So I know you have a lot of personal experiences that you brought into your chapter. So as you think about theories or practice or stories that you incorporated, what is one that you hope that people will really remember about in from your chapter? Story you hope that they will tell other people maybe?
A person told me once that they learned in 20 minutes things about leadership that they didn't learn in years. And they felt very proud of themselves. It wasn't about me or about my coaching, it was about them. So it was a moment of reflection where they had that aha moments. I'm powerful, I can do that. I I started to link things together to make sense of the whole picture and to start working on that. It's not the only story, by the way. Also, I had similar stories, especially the one that happened recently. Somebody who was working with me, her goal was to get her certification, and she got it right before she traveled. So she had a time frame And she passed, and she felt so proud after she tried the GameFrame method. So I was so proud of her and so proud of what I created.
It's very good. Now you're doing, when you work with coaches, this is all happening virtually, right? Are you sitting down one-on-one, or is it mostly virtual?
Mostly virtual, but sometimes face to face. But
Yeah,
it depends on the situation, yeah.
yeah. When we are in this virtual environment like we are now, there's of course lots of conversation about psychological safety and how you create that for people to feel like it's a safe space to try things out, to learn, to fail, to try again. So how is your game frame or the coaching? How are you building that psychological safety in? How does that happen?
By making them think, like empathy, bringing empathy into the game frame, emotional intelligence. So we ask people questions to put themselves in other people's situations, and they start thinking. Some of them I met, by the way, face to face. Like that was a recent training in July, and the way they posed and started to think about situations was really amazing. I was like observing what is happening, and it's really transformational when people start to think, if I were you or I were her, how would I feel? What would I do? People start to change, and they said things like, I never thought of that. And they started together to think of ways to change, let's say, the wording or to act differently. How would that be? And they found some, let's say, solutions or ideas or steps to move to take with them. That was amazing.
Yeah. And when you think about what you're describing, I mean, that is empathy, right? Like, I hadn't thought of it that way. Oh, if I were you, how would I be responding here? I mean, that's really that empathy of, I call it walking around to the other side of the table, but being willing to put yourself in that other person's shoes and see it from their perspective, because so often we're unwilling to do that, right? This is what I want. This is what I think you should do. And I'm going to see it from my side. And that ability to say, well, wow, that's totally different. I hadn't seen it that way before. That's really good. I love it. And I know that a lot of places in the world are moving back to a more face-to-face kind of structure and that in real life. And so envious of that. Because here in the States, we still have, I mean, we're doing a little bit of it. Like we have a conference in 2 weeks, but still so much by default is still happening virtual, which has a lot of benefits too. I'm not negating the benefits of it. I do love that real life in the room experience. So that's a ton of fun. That's good. All right. In your game frame, you have things like templates, you have cards, you have different quests. What are some of those tools as you think about leadership development and real leadership programs? What are some of those tools that you talk about in your game frame?
I thought about having quest cards about different situations in leadership. When I created those, I thought of teams. If you have a leader, you have a team. So, if a leader wants to discuss something with his team or her team, they would sit together at the same table or on an online setting and think of that quest, answering the questions again in the same way. We have coaching questions, we have some reflection through emotional intelligence, and then we have gamification. They have a point for each question they answer. Then they count the points and they get rewards like badges or maybe simply a gift or whatever the leader decides. It doesn't matter. That what really matters is to have that experience in a simple and authentic way. Like uh, the leader is authentic and he's himself, she's herself with their team. We are having that to have fun and to have transformation. So it's like serious play. We are combining that with that to have transformation. So, to be honest, I tried some of them with some of people I know, some teams, and they loved them. They felt like, oh, we had that before. This is like okay, I forgot the name, SWOT analysis. This is very similar to the strategy exercise I took in watch training, but this is the first time we have it in a fun way. And that's what made them like feel different. They said something like, oh, this is the first time we have an informal meeting. I was like, that wasn't informal meeting. It was a serious meeting, but they felt comfortable that they described it like informal, and they learned more about each other while going around the room, asking each other, going from one person to another. At the end of the day, I asked them that question. Okay, after that long day, it was from 9 to 5 p.m. They told me about things they learned about each other, and that was amazing. So they didn't only answer the questions, find solutions, also they learned about themselves. And to be honest with you, Monica, I had lots of trainings, and the bottom line was what? Human connection is the base of everything that we do.
Yeah, I love that. I ordered a deck of cards that I took with me. It's just 52 essential skills for relationships and emotional intelligence. And I took these live with me last week. And it was so interesting when you talk about the cards, and if the dynamic is different from like me putting it up on a whiteboard and them looking at it to having the card in their hand and then reading what it was asking them to ask each other, and then actually asking each other and waiting for the answers, and how much and how transparent they got, and just like you could see them relax into it because it's cards, right? It's something familiar. Oh, it's a simple card, but so it's not threatening. It's very simple for them to feel safe in that environment. And it was such an interesting dynamic that was created. I really like that you're incorporating that. It's a little bit different in the virtual, especially if we have to bring in some other kind of collaboration tool, but in the live, it's really good. So as you think about that for your leadership development, for growing leaders, empowering leaders, giving them skill practice, where do you see gamification or game-based learning as we move forward? Do you see that there's still a real connection there for leadership training?
I think this is the new type of training. I think I don't know when and but I think hopefully in the near future, every training should have an element of gamification in that because it's really empowering. But again, as you mentioned, Monica, you sat there in the room, you held the cards, and you heard them like speaking, relaxed. It depends on how you show up in that training. So also an element of that depends on the facilitator. Are they authentic? Are they fully bringing themselves into the situation? Are they applying gamification in the right way? People can bring an element of gamification and tell you, oh, that's gamification. No, it should be applied the right way. People should feel it, live it, apply it, and they decide that they want more of it. So this is what I really hope for. And the more I mingle with people, different leaders across sectors, like before our meeting, I had a meeting with other leaders. They were talking about the same thing, about gamification and training and coaching. They are very experienced but different fields. So I was so happy to hear about this. I think we will have transformation in maybe a year or two. I think that training will be totally different all over the world.
I hope so, certainly. I know Jonathan Peters, who you know, of course, through our program, our Chief Motivation Officer, he's been doing a lot of research because they've renormed the tests that we use, the motivational profile, because of this next generation coming in is truly different than previous generations. We always think generations are different, but this one is actually scoring differently. And so as we design training and we're bringing that, whether it's virtual or instructor led that's live, the expectation is different. And so we've got to deliver different. We can't just keep going back. And as we think about that psychological safety, and because I was with these new leaders for 3 days last week, each day, like the second and third day, I start the morning with more of, less of, like, what would you like more of? And what would you like less of in what we were doing? And both mornings, they were like, we want more of the cards, because they got to relax and have fun, and they were completely engaged with it. I'm like, I'll do cards all day with you if you want to, right? That I love that aspect of it. So that's really, really good. Thank you for sharing that. So I need to wrap this, but if people as people read your chapter, and there's a lot of, the great thing about the anthology is it has so many different, I'm not going to say themes, but ideas and perspectives and opportunity for, oh, I hadn't looked at it that way before. So what would be one thing that you would want people to remember from your chapter? If they're going to remember one specific thing, what would you want that to be?
Leadership is not taught.
Leadership is not what?
Is not taught.
Oh,
You don't
okay.
you don't learn about leadership. You live leadership and you learn it from experience. So bring all of you to the table, be your authentic self as a leader. And I think the best way is to do that through play, reflection, coaching, and emotional intelligence. So I think that's the bridge between knowing and becoming who you are as a leader.
Really good. So when you're saying leadership is not taught, you're not saying, though, that I'm either born a leader or I'm not, right? You're saying that I need to opportunity to practice it. I need to apply it, right? I can't become a leader because I've read a lot of books on leadership. I have to actually lead. Is that how you're saying it? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And to do the same as you did with the cards, you ask the people, what do you need to do more? They said the cards. Okay, they got their answer. You will have more cards. So leadership is not taught. Every group of people you are dealing with, every team, they are different. So you have to adapt to the situation, every situation you are in as a leader. And every situation shapes you into a better leader.
Very good. That's really good. I am so excited about your chapter. And of course, Rihan just recently became a certified master craftsman. She took, for a master craftsman level, you have to fully deploy a project and create a portfolio of evidence. And it got such rave reviews from our master craftsmen who review these projects to see if people qualify to certify as that master craftsman level. So congratulations to you on that. And we're thrilled to have you as a part of our network, our inner circle, and as part of this anthology. So our conversation today about coaching and play and emotional intelligence and your GameFrame model, and how we can actually rethink leadership, and that I really love the idea that it just can't be taught. You can't read books and become a leader. You can read books and it'll help you to become a leader when you actually take that. We used to have that saying that knowledge is power, but knowledge really isn't power unless we do something with it. So thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. We do start this week with our pre-sales of the anthology book, and we'll have it live, of course, in New Orleans with our GameCon that's coming up. And Rihan will have her special edition of the book that is truly hers as one of the leading authors in the anthology book. So Rihan, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast today. Really appreciate you and what you're adding to the whole dynamic of gamification and gameplay. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Gamification Quest podcast series. If you'd like to go deeper, you can get your own copy of the Sententia Anthology, where you'll find all of our authors' chapters collected in one place. Simply go to www.sententiagamification.com/anthology. And if you're ready to take the next step in your own practice, visit our homepage at www.sententiagamification.com to explore our certification programs and our community of practice. Until next time, keep designing learning that engages and transforms.